Yeah, you sit down there, Rusty, that's it. Because then I can make sure.
Over there, I can out the way.
Yeah, I don't want you out of the way. Yeah, sit in the background there.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, that's it.
I want to get me.
Yeah, there's that heater there, Rusty, and all.
Technical directorship there, you see.
Is that heater on?
Behave yourself, you lad.
That's it. You direct us,
Yeah,
Rusty.
it's
You direct
Well,
us.
aye.
Don't worry, Rusty. When I make me millions, I'll come and see you. When I'm going now, look, hey, you come and see. You can show these kids how to box.
Okay, come on.
Right then, Chi, what we're talking about today?
Are we live?
That's it. We're live now. We're
Oh,
going.
yeah.
Yeah.
You'll have,
No
to edit,
rehearsal.
you'll have to edit that bit.
Life don't get a rehearsal, I'm afraid.
Right, so.
3, 2, 1, action!
They are being done the action.
Right,
Rusty's
so-
the director and all. This is Rusty. This is Shane's dad.
I'm saying
You're how old are you, Rusty?
83.
83 lot, still going strong. He's done some stuff in his life, our Rusty has as well. He was telling me earlier. Right,
So,
go on, Shane.
first-
Back to the subject,
Back
boys.
to the subject, right, boys and girls, because we've got lady mechanics
and
technicians
girls, yeah,
as
we
well.
have, yeah.
Very important that.
I
Right,
think, yeah, because I've got 0.4% of my subscribers are ladies,
right.
but I don't think they are. I think the blokes on their missus' account.
All right.
Damn it!
So when the ladies go on their phone and they say, I'm just going to have a look at what he's
Oh look,
been
ladies
looking at."
commented
Yeah,
here.
lady.
Ladies commented here. Oh,
Yeah.
it's from Dan. Look.
Yeah.
All right, Dan.
We've heard some pretty bad comments from mechanics and technicians that are working on DAF Eco MAN and some Renault trucks that have got the AS Tronic gearbox on, saying, "Oh, AS Tronic gearbox, oh no," strike fear and dread into most mechanics, and it's understandably so as well.
Yeah, because on the comments, a lot of them said
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I've never come across him.
Trying to actually sort of take the fear and everything out of the job when it comes to, first of all, looking at one of these and lifting it off. There is a bit of a procedure, and a lot of people are getting caught out when they come to refit the thing back on. So hopefully we'll dismiss a few of the myths and a few of the pitfalls when we go through it. So basically, everybody who's seen one of these, they're actually sat on top of the gearbox, 12 and 16 speeds. They're on trucks, they're on rigids, they're on cranes, coaches, buses.
yeah,
You know, I think if they drop the bomb in God knows how many years' time, the only three things that will survive is bacteria, cockroaches, and ZF gearboxes.
So it's about indestructible then. Well, it's not indestructible because we're talking about it
Yeah,
now, but
so, well, they do.
there's a
go
lot
on.
of them.
Well, this is the thing, you see. ZF have been producing the AS Tronic gearbox, the transmission unit, since 2000, so it's 22 years old.
Yeah.
So they've done
so
something right.
Yeah, I was gonna
But
say.
they've also done something wrong
lasting this
by
time.
bringing out the Traxxon gearbox, and I'll
Come
touch
on, I
on.
ain't come across this before.
I'll touch on that a bit later on in the video. But basically, you've got your air regulator valve that regulates the air pressure through the modulator to shift the rails in your gearbox, which is basically, that's your range piston, that's your split piston, and that's your gear selector piston. And there's 4 points of contact when you lift this off from the gearbox. So your piston shafts have to be located in the rails. There's no point.
What do they do? Just sit in like a fork?
That's it. They're basically in a rail that's sculptured out, scalloped out to accommodate that mushroom head of that piston, and they sit in.
Do you have to have it in a certain, what, just
There
in
is.
neutral and...
No, there is a certain way. I mean, I've had guys refit these and they've refitted it whilst it's been in gear, so there is, and obviously when you switch the ignition on, it's not going to calibrate because it's in gear and you've no air pressure because you've dumped all the air out to remove this in the first place. So never try and replace this with all the air pressure built up in the gearbox, because it's liable to fly off and probably do some damage to your facial features.
Yeah, so that's a good thing.
So you dump the air out as much as you can get by pumping the brake. Get a 22mm spanner on your air regulator pipe, take that off. It's now take off. So what I tend to do is, first of all, never ever move these pistons, because they're a nightmare.
What do you mean? What, once you've got it off you?
Once you've got it off, you imagine, Chris, you've lifted that off now, you're looking into the top of the gearbox and you've 3 rails.
Yeah.
Them 3 rails locate into there. The minute you push that down, pull that
Oh,
up,
right.
push that, you've lost all your
Oh, you
measurements.
lost it all.
How are you going to get it back
right,
up?
so you don't do that then? You don't move
No,
them then?
no.
So
what
don't move them pistons, lads.
So what a lot of people do, they don't realise that, and you get a lot of this happening with apprentices. They're just told to go and refit one. So what happens is they go and get it out, the pistons are up, they're all over the place, they put it back on, get the whisk popper,
Yeah.
half-inch drag, zzz, 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 bang.
All right.
Oh,
All right.
that doesn't
Oh,
sound
and it
good.
don't lined up or anything. So
It's
they're
not
still
lined up, so the
snapping
piston
stuff.
shafts are rocking on the
That could be
rails.
expensive then, couldn't it?
Oh yeah, it is if it's a main dealership. I had a quote given to me by a chap who was inquiring about a replacement modulator early on in the week.
Can I move these?
Yeah, of course you can.
I just want to feel. Yeah.
And he says, well, the problem I've got, Shane, is I've just rang the main dealership up and they've quoted me 6,000 quid. I said, well, that's probably about right. It's a ballpark figure. I said,
What's
well,
that for? This complete unit?
Yeah.
What, the whole replacement now?
Oh, it's 6 grand. Yeah,
Easy.
probably plus that. So basically, I've been remanufacturing these since 2014. And if I added it all up, a conservative figure for what I've actually remanufactured since 2014, not just for myself, but for a ZF service partner that I worked for back in 2014, you're probably looking over 1,000 units that I've remanufactured.
Yeah. So you see these all the time now?
All the time. I literally know these inside out.
Yeah.
Literally. And that's
So
the
we've got
benefit.
the right person on the job then, lads, to educate us about this.
Hopefully. Yeah. So the first thing I would do, more than anything, is everybody's got an aerosol can in a workshop. It's either on top of something on a shelf or it's in the bin.
Yeah.
Lift it up and sit it underneath. So now you've got it pretty much level. Get a steel ruler. It's got to be something stiff, straight. Put a datum point actually on.
Oh, what you doing? Just measuring?
You measure the piston shafts
before you disturb them, obviously.
before they get disturbed.
Yeah.
Or somebody comes along and says,
Yeah.
"Oh, what we took this off," and you start plunging it and pushing it up and down.
So
You
the
lost all
first
your
thing you
measurements.
do is measure it.
First thing you do is
But you know, if you take this off and measure
Yeah.
it and then you move it, does that matter?
no, you can do what you want after that.
Yeah, you can do what you want.
Because
That's
you've
what
got
I mean.
the
It doesn't-
measurements.
It doesn't like ruin with the calibration inside if you want
No,
to move it.
no.
As long as you've got the measurements,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
set it back to that measurement.
Spot on.
There you are.
110% spot on. So basically what I do then is, I'll have this sat on my bench. Obviously I've turned it round for the benefit of the guys watching the video. I put a steel ruler on at the side of the piston shaft, get my phone, modern technology again,
Oh, take a
Chris,
photo. Oh, that's a good
Camera.
idea, isn't it?
screenshot it, and if you're out like myself wearing these, you know, I wear these for a reason.
You can zoom in, can't you?
Not for a bet. So basically you can zoom in and get an
Yeah,
accurate
and get a
measurement.
good- that's
But what
good.
I'll do basically to fine tune the measurement for these pistons is basically just tap it on top with a spanner and look at it again with the ruler, and once you're confident you've got it 100%, that's
Then-
fine. Then you know if nobody's moved the rails in the gearbox, but then again, why would they?
Yeah, that's
You know,
it, yeah.
You can
Yeah, because that's the same thing. If you
Yeah.
don't move the rails in the gearbox, of course, you get the same problem. Nothing lines up then.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's a major problem, and this is what causes a lot of the headaches, because people, you know, everybody's got things on their mind when they're doing a job. They're under pressure sometimes to try and get it off, get a new one back on. They don't think they're moving stuff.
Do these come off easy out the gearbox? Do they just lift out, or do you have
They
to?
do it with a bit of a
Yeah, but you
you
know when you get
bit
them
of a
out, it's
pinch
not
bar.
gonna.
No,
Do you just lift them straight
just
up? then?
lift them straight up. Yeah.
That's what I mean. You ain't got to faff around because I suppose
Sometimes you can.
I suppose if you've got them all, if you've got this loose and you've got them all hooked in, and you're trying to put them out with it up, it might move these pistons a bit. That's what I'm thinking.
It basically will just
Lift.
get a little bit of a pinch bar on
Yeah,
it,
underneath.
because obviously what happens,
Well, it's tight on the
it's
gasket. will it?
tight on the gasket, but also
Well, you would, Ain.
That's so good.
He don't like this educational, does he? These kids are today.
also
Wait there before you speak. I just want to make sure this is actually recording. Because you know what?
Sit here for about
Yeah, we are
20
recording.
minutes.
Don't worry.
Sit here 20 minutes.
Yeah, sit here 20 minutes. Then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, now we'll press
oh yeah,
record.
battery's flat. Yeah.
Damn it. Go on, carry on.
A lot of the problems obviously can arise trying to get it off, and professional struggles
we
that
are,
we
yeah.
are, Chris.
That's what we are. That's what we do.
A lot of road debris and grime and dirt and silt and God knows what
Yeah, get.
compacted between the modulator lid itself and the bell housing.
Yeah.
And you know, if you start
Blow it
getting a
off with an
build
airline.
yeah,
Yeah,
blow it off
blow
with
it
an
with an
airline.
airline, yeah.
Because obviously when you lift this off and that's packed up with crap, when you lift it off, it's all going to drop into
Yeah,
the
it's going to
box.
drop into the box.
And
isn't
it's
it?
a
Yeah, and we
nightmare.
don't want that then, no.
So I will turn this back round because there is another good piece of information as well. Obviously, you've got your 3 piston shafts, they're in the 3 rails. When you lift it up from whatever angle you can do it safely and lift it off very carefully, is you'll have 3 springs sticking up out of the top of the gearbox, which are detent springs. And they actually locate in the detents that put pressure on your shafts to locate them. So take it off carefully. Don't be in a rush to get it
Yeah.
off. That's the last thing you want to do. Because if you accidentally catch one of those springs, it could flick out and drop in your box.
Oh, and you've lost it in your
And
box.
then you've lost it in your box and you've got another
I'm
problem.
going to draw a box out, yeah.
There is a bit of a procedure for taking it off. So we've gone through the fact that you're going to take the measurement to the piston shafts.
Yeah.
Once you've got it on your phone, that's fine. You can do what you want with these pistons then, should you need to. I don't know why you would, but anyway, some people push them up and down. Oh, I'm looking for something obvious. It's not obvious because they're going up and down, which
Yeah.
is what they do in the box. But now then, if you've had a guy with a diagnostic bit of kit that's come out and said, oh yeah, your ECU board's fine, there's not a problem with that, it's a problem with your bottom half. It could be pouring air out of the side of the little vent holes inside on the side of the gearbox near the bell housing, and that's a bottom half failure. It's something obvious, but we'll talk about diagnosing faults shortly. The best thing to do is safely remove the lid from the bottom section and put it somewhere safe, somewhere where it's not going to get knocked over or damaged, because if they land on this section, they snap the air regulator side of the lid off, and then you need a new lid then. So what I'm going to do is basically go through lifting and removing. So some gearbox modulators have two T30s Torx bolts holding the lid to the bottom section, and some have T40s. Why they change the size of the bolt head, I don't know.
They like to change it, don't
So zap them out
they? With a little whiz popper.
with your whiz popper. We have
Yeah,
one
whiz
each, don't we,
popper.
Chris?
We do.
Now
Whiz
then.
poppers.
There's a gasket under here.
Right.
Now these gaskets can work out really quite expensive.
Oh, can they?
Oh yeah,
What, just for a
especially
gasket?
just for a gasket. Somebody rang me up once and they said, I wished I'd have seen you 6 months ago. I've had a similar problem to that, and I had to get a gasket kit from the main dealership, and it consisted of that middle gasket, a bottom one, 2 O-rings and 2 bolts.
Oh.
I said, all right, how much for that? 75 quid.
Yeah, just for the gasket kit and air-rings. Now
then, so what you've got to do, bearing in mind, 99% of the time, this is really quite stuck to the gasket.
you want a ply bar?
No.
You've had this apart, haven't you?
No, yeah.
Yeah, he's had it apart. We'd need to wedge a ply bar in there, boys, or a screwdriver or
A
something.
screwdriver would be better rather than a pry bar.
Is a pry bar a bit
Well,
rough?
I said
Hammer
that.
and chisel.
Just get a still saw on it, Chris. So basically, go across diagonally. So you've got your hands on either corner. Try and just slightly twist it. Now you're not convinced that you've freed it off. So what you've got to do, obviously you've got this on a bench, and if you lift it up, you can see the gap. And you can see where the gasket is actually sticking to the surface of the modulator. So you can get a thin screwdriver,
Yeah.
a
And just,
steel spatula blade, and just carefully run it down each side, bearing in mind that towards the middle, the section of the gasket is actually held in the middle as well, near the valve block.
come on, Arch, stand here. Look, our Archie wants to see it. Look, he's interested what's inside this beast.
So now the bottom section, that's pneumatically operated, is electrically connected to the ECU board in the lid that commands the modulator when to change the gears, the split and range. Sorry. A lot of people go a bit hand-fisted with these plugs.
Yeah.
It's not the way to do it. You've got
What,
to
do they
end up
just
down-
unplug out that
They
thing?
unplug out of there, but there is a way of doing it. Some
Oh,
people
right.
say,
Best
pull
show
this
us
and
then.
it, oh, hang on, why is
Oh
that
dear.
going?
And
Oh
then
dear.
we've got a...
A chap once rang me up and he said, do you sell the valve block separately? And I said, no. Oh crap. He said, I've just been quoted 1,200 quid from main dealers. I said, all right, that's a bit of bad news. I said, well, I do a complete unit, all remanufactured, including the ECU board, programmed and the lid and everything. 800 quid all in.
Yeah, that's it.
The
Yeah.
bottom section from myself is 550 quid and it's warranted for 18 months. You get a full 18 months warranty with the modulator from myself.
Oh, well, you can't do
So
that.
if we grab your camera now, Chris, and zoom in a little bit on this,
Come on then, look, Archie, grab that camera. Let's get a close-up of this job.
and if Archie can come round that side and basically video what I'm going to do with this flathead screwdriver.
Right.
So you've got your 2 plugs. So this is the plug obviously going to your valve block, and this is a plug that connects with your internal wiring loom for your modulator.
Yeah.
So we need to carefully remove these plugs. Now what I tend to do is get a flat screwdriver and put it down the side of this plug and put it diagonally across. So can you see it flexing there?
Yeah.
And it's basically held in a series of pins inside there. So you're going to grab your finger and your thumb and support it while you're prising it off with a little flat screwdriver, and you're wiggling it from side to side like that whilst applying a little pulling pressure.
Yeah, just to get it off the pins.
And it'll come off. Now this one, oh, what am I going to lean it against, you might think? Well, you've got the casing here. Again, just a little bit of pressure with your flathead screwdriver there. Same thing again, a little bit of fresh pressure. Side to side. Not exerting it too much. You're not yanking on this. You don't want to...
There we go.
And that's it now. That's disconnected.
So don't just go and yock them out, lads. Like I would do. Go on, get out. Oh dear, that pin snapped.
Oh dear.
Archie, don't do that.
Right.
What do you reckon, Rusty?
Very good.
Is it cup of tea time yet?
Yeah, I've had...
Do you want me to put a kettle on?
No, I'm all
All right.
Thank you very much.
I'll do one soon, don't panic.
So we can put this safely to one side. Don't lean it on its back. Somebody knocks it. It doesn't take much to knock it over.
Yeah.
It could fall off a bench. Somebody could whack it with something else.
And we're in a right mess again.
And we're in a mess again. Right, we will go back now to identifying a few things in the modulator itself.
Well, let me put this. Shall I put this camera up somewhere? Yeah. Can we go back up there? Whoa, wait.
Oh, I'll have to edit that, Chris.
Don't worry, it always does it.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, I've got to drop this phone.
You have done it a few
I dropped
times
this
and then
phone
you
about
just
100 times a day. I dropped this phone. It's a good job I've got a casing on this phone, isn't it?
You need an airbag around your phone.
I do, yeah.
Good stuff, good stuff.
Right, go on.
Right, so we'll identify a few parts in here. So this is obviously a valve block, and this is what diverts the air through the piston and the pneumatic system to
So
change.
your electrical concourse goes through from
Yeah.
the cab, and then obviously it transfers it to air through this part.
That's right, yeah. They call it electric over air.
Right,
Hence the reason why Airtronics Transmission Services was born.
right,
So Airtronics, air over electronics, electric over air.
yeah.
So basically this is your gate selector. This is what basically sends your gearbox through the neutral gate and works in conjunction with your split, your gear selector piston and your range.
Right.
So also on your modulator, these two pieces, these devices here, is the cone one is your oil temperature sensor and the bottom one is your internal speed sensor.
Oh, right.
So there's quite a bit of electrics
Yeah,
involved
there
as well.
is just in that one bit, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And on the underside, call it the underside, I'll turn it around and hopefully the camera people can see it. These are your proximity sensors that basically register where in line your pistons are at the point of selection of anything on there.
Right.
So there's quite a lot of things that can
Yeah,
go wrong
quite
with
a bit of
these
technology in
over
that
a
one
given
bit,
amount of
isn't
time. Now I say that, and you might think, oh, I'm not having one of them, I don't like them, they're bloody crap and they break down and this, that and the other. This particular modulator has done over 600,000 kilometres. So
Yeah.
over the past 8 years, I've worked out that the window for these actually going wrong is between 550,000 kilometres and 800,000 kilometres. Now, you will get an exceptional case, and I have had this happen before in the past. I can remember back in 2017, I did a job for a guy in Bury, and his truck had done 1.5 million kilometres, and his modulator had only just gone wrong.
All right, so they can last.
Yeah,
then, can't
yeah,
they?
they can last. Yeah, they can last. It's always this is the weakest link in the
What-
ZF
What's
gearbox.
the most common problem then, Liam? What comes up? You know, if I
I
if someone
have
rings
people
me up,
asking me that all the time.
because obviously I go out on breakdowns quite a bit.
Yeah.
So what is it? They can't select the gears then, or
They can't
does it
select the
come up on
gears.
the dash?
Well, there's a way of, obviously your viewers might be looking at the video thinking, God, Benny, that's a hell of a lot of faff just to get that off. How do I know it's that? Well, we
Right,
can go
yeah.
through a process of diagnosing it.
Mm.
So if you've got a truck in your workshop and it's struggling trying to select the gears, get it over a pit, remove the rubber bung out of the bell housing, have somebody in the cab. When they're changing gears, I think it'll go up to 4th or 5th, won't it, before you need
Yeah,
it
you said
moving
this,
before
yeah,
you change
yeah.
up. You can actually see the clutch actuator or the clutch booster pushing the fork, pushing the peg from the clutch booster against the fork and actuating the clutch.
That's without moving anywhere, by the way, ladies
That's
and
at a
gentlemen.
standstill.
That's
yeah.
just at a standstill. So if you undo, as he says, the bung at the bottom, you'll actually see it moving.
Yeah.
What's that? If you just get someone to rev up the engine while you're underneath.
Just change your gear on the start. I'm doing that with my thumb. Change your gear on your start.
Yeah.
And it'll you probably change from 1st up to 5th, and you will see it. Because what happens when you switch the ignition on? right away, all the ECU boards on the vehicle are talking to each other. And you say, right, are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm here. Gearbox actuator? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine. And what it's doing then, it's calibrating itself. So what it's doing, it'll move 2 or 3 times and it'll find the bite point
the
of your clutch.
calibration site, yeah.
Now, if it's not doing that, or it's only moving a short distance, then there's an issue.
Yeah.
And right away you'd think, well, is it clutch or is it clutch booster? Well, it's the clutch isn't going to move without a clutch booster against it, so I'll remove the clutch booster pack and swap it. Now that might cure your problem. Now that's saved you all this faff taking this off, time off the road and everything else. But the benefit of taking the bung out and looking is, on certain gearboxes, they're renowned for pulling the bearing out of the clutch.
Oh, right.
And your ball bearings fall out and your spring clip falls out, and sometimes you can take the rubber bung off and your problem's there. There's your bearings. So you think, well, the modulator's okay, the clutch booster's alright, it's the clutch. So eliminate a few things first before you go down the route of taking this off, especially if you're a bit nervy of doing it. Hopefully this video that we've done, Chris, will help put a little bit of confidence in people.
Well, this is it.
And obviously you're in the know now as well. So you know, anytime you ring me up and say I need a bit of advice with this, and what do you think this is, you ring me and I'll give you as much information as I can. So yeah, there's any number of faults you can have with them, but the benefit of what I've done over the years is I've now got dedicated software that enables me to put this on my purpose-built test rig, plug all my software in, and I test it.
Right, you test it on the bench then, do you?
Well,
like
we used to. Now I've got a gearbox. I've got a gearbox.
You've got a gearbox.
And I can plug everything
you can
in.
actually do it. Oh yeah.
So what I can do, if I...
What's this? Is this your testing?
Yeah, this is before we had the test rig. Basically, we've got the modulator.
Oh yeah, I can see it all working though.
So the computer is operating the actuator from the software.
That's the function test what you're doing now.
So everything there has come up within the parameters set by the manufacturer.
Yeah.
When we know it's banged on, that can then be sent to the customer with a full 18-month warranty for £550.
Yeah.
So
good then, isn't it?
Any people, any companies out there, owner drivers, workshops, if you've got any of these kicking around in your workshop, not really knowing what to do with them, not really knowing what the problem is, frightened you might have one go down on a truck.
Send them to you and you
send them to me, I'll test them.
I'll put a link in the description to how you contact him, how you contact our Shane.
Smashing, great
We'll put a link in there.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling, boys, I'm definitely going to use them if I come across one of these, obviously.
Brilliant, Chris. Yeah. So, refitting the gasket and replacing.
Yeah, look, this is how prepared Shane is. Look at this.
Scripted.
It's scripted, it is, boys.
Scripted, yeah.
I might go on to scripting my stuff.
Might go
What do you reckon? A director in a bit, Chris.
Hello, it's me, Chris, and this is my son Archie.
So yeah, basically, all right. We'll do something now on worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Right, because this does happen, and this is where a lot of people are thinking, oh no, AS Tronics, stay away, and all this lot. And that's fine. So we're going to try and work around that and give people a bit of confidence on if you have actually moved, or somebody else has moved, because watching this video now, it's not going to be you lot that's moving these pistons, it's going to be somebody else. Let's say for whatever reason, a young apprentice has come in and said, hey, look at them pistons.
Yeah,
hey, they go up and down them, don't they? And you go, oh no.
What, before you measured it, you mean?
Yeah.
First thing you do is measure them, boys. We know that now, don't we?
My phone's dropped out of my holder and I've run over it with the tractor unit and I can't access my phone to get the measurements, and now my apprentice has moved all the pistons.
Yeah. Panic
stricken. Right, so.
I'll ring you up. That's what I'd ring you up. Wait there, bud. Go check my memory. It's taking up all my storage, boys.
You're gonna have to, so we're gonna talk about the panic-stricken guys that have moved all these pistons and they're all out of alignment and they've moved the gate selector or whatever. So on the middle rail inside the gearbox, you've got a vertical peg. It looks like a chess pawn piece. It's got a little bulbous thing on the end. Well, that has to locate in this slot.
Well, oh yeah,
on that slotting block.
That's the neutral slot.
As well as locating that shaft in the rail. Now, obviously, somebody's come along and moved all the pistons. You're thinking, "Oh my God, how am I going to get that refitted?"
Yeah.
So, what I've done before in the past when that's happened, I've gone out to a workshop and said, "Oh, we think we moved the piston." Oh crap! Some grease, and you squeezed the grease and you filled the end of the rail up where the piston shaft sits.
Right.
Okay, so clean it off so it's just all the grease is filled it and it's all nice and neat. So you sit your modulator on it and it's rocking. Now, never try and refit one of these with the lid attached.
Right.
Because you can't see through the gap.
Oh, yeah.
So at least you can
Oh, that's a
see
good bit of advice, lads, isn't it, look?
that block and 2 out of the 3 pistons.
Yeah, so you've only got one that you can't really see the middle one.
Some lads will use an endoscope with camera on and they'll
Yeah.
look through. Some people will use a little dental mirror with a mirror
Yeah,
on the
just
end,
so
and
they
they'll
can
put it through and they
visually
can
see
see it. So let's say, for example, you've got it rocking. It's rocking on your splitter. You can't see where that rail, that shaft is on your rail because of this piston chamber here. It's obscuring the view. So basically what you do, you can lift it up and tap it either in or pull it out slightly. Then when it's
Just to try and get it
just to
seated
try
in
it
the
seated.
holder.
Now you've got to remember your 3 detent springs are still in your gearbox. And it'll try and hold itself off.
Yeah.
And it'll rock. Once you know that that's more or less there, it'll go clunk.
Yeah,
and you
and
can
sit
push
down.
it down, but it'll still try and spring itself off.
Yeah, because the springs are
because of the
pushing it up.
detent springs. So what you do then is carefully lift it up, and there's no rushing with one of these units. You rush it and
You break
you're
it.
going to get stressed out. And the best thing to do when you start stressing over refitting or removing one of these is go and put the kettle on, have a cup of tea, chill out and come back and look
Yeah.
at it with a fresh set of eyes.
Right, Lou.
So when you know you've got it located, the grease will be missing out of the rails and the grease will be round the piston shafts.
Yeah.
So you know
So
that
you
you've
know
got it
where- yeah,
absolutely
you've got it
spot
wrong.
on. Your middle peg, your vertical peg is sat in this slot. Your 3 rails are sat right in with the pistons there, and you know you've got it spot on. So you think, right, okay, so I know it's spot on. Lift it off, put it to one side, do not move anything. Gasket. You now need to put a new gasket on the top of the gearbox
Right.
to stop any oil leakage, because obviously you've got the oil spinning around the top of the gearbox. That's the reason why this is the colour it is.
Yeah.
What I do, because it's such a thin gasket and you're always in fear of catching it if you're cack-handed and you've got sausage fingers, dab your finger in a bit of the oil that's still left in the top of the box and wipe the top of the gearbox and sit the gasket on it. Spend
Yeah.
a few minutes just lining it up
Yeah.
and being a bit pedantic with it, but sit it all on top and then sit that back on.
Yeah.
It's not going to move then because the oil's out to stick the gasket to the
Yeah,
top
I'm
of the
with you,
gearbox.
yeah. So it's not going to fidget
So
about.
when you've got that on there, that gasket that you've managed to save, hopefully, will now go back on. So you grab your lid, Archie, if you please.
Where is it, Arch? Down there. Look.
Smashing.
You alright, Lou? You've come to join the crew, have you?
Yeah, it is.
She's come to join the learning.
The ZF guys, the German guys, and we say a lot about German engineering, it's in a lot of things, have infinitely designed in a little holder for your lid.
You're right.
Yeah, which is a good idea.
Which is a good idea, so you're not,
So you're
well,
not
need
struggling
money.
with-
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we're
Try and get
struggling,
them
professional
things.
strugglers
Well,
again.
professional strugglers.
Yeah,
But they've
that's the
made the
one.
struggle a bit more easy, haven't they?
Yeah, so then you can refit your plugs, push them in, make
Just
sure
push
they're all the
them in,
way
yeah,
in.
make sure
And they're
they
only a push-in plug, there's nothing fancy about them, they're not held in with
Yeah, they're not
screwing
holding weight
clamps.
to it now, as you just
Oh,
showing, isn't it?
And then straight on with the top.
So you know the problems with these then?
Yeah.
What actually comes up that you can't get no gears?
Yeah, you can't
It's
get,
not selecting the
it's
gears.
not selecting gears, or
So
you
you
could-
know if you do your check with your ignition on, and you says if you go underneath and you're looking at your
Clutch
release
booster.
valve, yeah, your clutch
Yeah.
booster moving.
yeah,
What if that don't move, or if it's looking a
if
bit?
everything looks fine and the clutch booster is actuating the way it should properly, then look towards the modulator. And it's far better to get it checked out and have it tested to make sure its functionality.
I suppose it
is
comes up with
correct.
fault codes on it. On
It
the
will.
dash.
A lot of guys that have got the diagnostic stuff, whether it be DAF, obviously have got Davy. There's your gel test. There's your
Yeah.
Texer. There's other
And they'll
stuff.
plug into it.
They'll plug
And
into
it'll
it.
just say the faults in this. Then it won't
It'll-
pinpoint
yeah,
it to,
yeah.
to a part in this, though, will it?
No. All it'll
just,
do,
it just say it's this.
it'll point you in the direction
Yeah.
of the problem.
So it'll just point you to
Yeah,
this unit.
it narrows it down. Now then, anybody who's thinking, yeah, but fault codes, they all come up with fault codes and I haven't a bloody clue what they mean.
Yeah.
Well, the Google being the way it is today, because we're in the 21st century,
Oh wait,
if you,
Lou, we're in the 21st century now. Nobody told me about that. Go and get the horse and cart then. We'll trade it. We're going to go and trade that horse and cart for a
Bag of it is cheaper than modulator, isn't it? Yeah, and it's less
Our
likely to
lady's
not
looking at me
let
now.
you know.
She looked at me. She's looking at me
Well,
now.
it's
She's
like
looking at me as though I've got 3 heads, she has here. Damn it. I can't tell these kids to do out. Go on, Ash, you make a cup of tea. Are you going to make a cup of tea?
No?
I'll go make a cup of tea.
That's a short
In a minute,
answer,
I'll
isn't
go
it?
make a cup of tea.
So,
I get educated here.
Right, go on.
So, obviously Google being the way it is now, you can actually go on Google and type in
Your fault code.
DAF gearbox fault codes, or
Yeah.
words to that effect, and it'll scroll up with half a dozen different things, and you can click on one and it'll download a PDF file with hundreds of fault codes.
Yeah, fault codes on it.
So if you're not familiar with all the fault codes you come across, you can download PDF files now from MAN, DAF, IV Code, and they'll point you in the direction of where the issue is. They won't actually say you need to change XYZ on the
No.
modulator. It'll just say there's a problem with that.
Yeah.
So
Do you get many problems with the wiring going into these, or do you not get much issues with them?
some of the wiring looms on certain trucks, and I'm sure some of the viewers that view your videos, Chris, have come across wiring loom issues that plugging
Because
into
I
the
suppose a
modulators.
wiring loom issue can point you to the modulator, can't it?
Yeah, it can do.
If you
Yeah.
don't know, obviously, what signals
Yeah,
go down
exactly.
here,
Well-
how do you know if it's the wiring or the modulator?
Well, a lot of guys will do like continuity tests
Yeah,
to make sure
through it
they've
all.
got, voltage through it all and everything. But there's only
But
4.
if we're unsure, then we can send that to you, can't we?
Oh,
so
yeah.
if I get a problem and I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
well, I think it might be this actuator,
But, yeah.
I can take that off, send
Yeah.
it to you, can't I? You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
bench test it.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me if there's anything wrong with it. If there's
Absolutely,
nothing
yeah.
wrong with it, obviously, we'll crack on. We'll look for a different problem.
Look for
We'll
another
the
problem.
wiring
So
or whatever.
it could be a wiring, it could be actual gearbox itself, because some certain ZF gearboxes are inherent with certain problems.
Must be just cold.
So yeah,
And where are you from? Because you're not from Bolton. Lads, he's not from Bolton.
Not
I
from
kept
Bolton.
saying he's from Bolton, but he's not.
not from Bolton.
Not from Bolton.
Not
So
from
don't, don't go and take this off. Drive your way to Bolton and say, where is he? Where is
Yeah,
he?
yeah, you're looking
He's
for a
not
big
here.
sign saying Airtronics transmission
That's it,
services.
we won't go there.
No. Rochdale.
Rochdale, I see. Close though, wasn't it?
Gracie
Not far
Fields,
off,
Not
yeah.
far
Yeah.
off, was it?
Gracie Fields territory.
Yeah, there's a
Whose
handful,
territory?
Gracie Fields.
Singer,
Gracie
well-known
Fields.
singer.
Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know.
handful of things have been good to come out of Rochdale. Yeah,
Oh,
Gracie Fields, Lisa Stanfield, and M62. So yeah, and I live there.
Like it.
So yeah, no disrespect to Rochdale. We've had some bad press over the years, but yeah, we're not all bad.
Hey,
So
you seem alright to me.
we're going through Greasy.
Yeah, because that's the main thing
problems.
what I struggle
Yeah.
with, you see, diagnosing a problem.
Yeah.
This is what
Yeah.
I struggle with all the time. It's alright fitting the part, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, when someone said, oh, fit that part, Chris, I'll fit the part, lads, no problem.
Yeah.
But it's diagnosing the problem. That's
Yeah.
where I struggle with.
Have you ever come across some guy in a workshop saying, "Yeah, it's that, Chris," and you fit the part, and then they come back 10 minutes after and go, "Chris, I've still got the same problem."
Yeah, well, yeah,
Because
obviously.
they-
I do it
they've
all the
wrongly
time.
diagnosed
Even
what
I've
they
wrongly
think the issue is.
diagnosed it.
Right.
But obviously, I always start off at the cheapest first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You think, well, what's going to be the cheapest thing
Yeah.
to try and narrow it down?
Yeah,
Because this
yeah.
is what we do. We're tracing
Yeah.
faults all the time.
Well, that's it.
'Cause
Yeah.
we're all, I mean, I'm not no expert at I'm a struggler, obviously. That's what I do. So
Yeah.
if I go to a station, I think, right, what do I need to do? Like, what I could change that, but that's 600 quid.
Yeah.
Or I could try that valve there and just make sure it's that one.
That's £28.
Like 28 quid. Yeah, that's it. So you always start cheapest first.
Well,
You
that's
never
it.
go for the worst thing first.
Exactly.
I know lads, you know, I know fitters and know mechanics that go for the worst scenario first.
That's it.
The
I
very
mean,
worst scenario.
on the flip side of that coin, people who are in the know with these, who've done a lot of them, who are in workshops and they come across them on a regular basis for different reasons, some of them will go straight to the clutch booster first of all.
Yeah.
Now, that's all very well, and you think, clutch booster. They're like, well, I heard somebody not too long ago sadly got charged about 1,400 quid for a clutch booster.
Yeah.
And you think, well, I'll go for the cheapest part first that I think it is, and you think clutch booster is going to be a lot cheaper than that. Well, it is if you're going to buy this from a main dealer at £6 grand. That's the difference. You could
Yeah,
get.
because they're having a problem with the boosters as well, not
Well, what happens, Chris, is, especially in weather like we've got now, in winter more over than any other time during the year, is your compressor's running, obviously everything runs off air, including your gearbox on an AS Tronic. So what happens is,
your boosters, your slave cylinder, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
so
I call
basically,
it slave cylinder, but I don't know, but it is called a booster.
it is. It's drawing in air, it's also drawing in moisture.
Yeah.
And moisture's building up in your tanks. So it'll get to a certain level where you've got more moisture than you've got air.
Yeah.
So everybody forgets, just hit that drain plug and drain it
Yeah.
all out. So what happens is under pressure, it blasts the moisture through the clutch booster, through the pipe, through your air egg,
Yeah, through that air.
into your lid,
Yeah.
ECU board, electric,
Electric, there we go.
with water. Doesn't mix, does it?
Change your air dry filters.
Air dry filters or drain your tanks.
Oh, drain your tanks.
Or
as
drain
well,
your
yeah.
tanks. Because you
I
get...
don't get much air, it's not like them days when we used to drain tanks working over there for half hour drain the water out nowadays. Obviously, because these air dry filters, they're spot on, aren't they? As long as you change them regular.
Yeah, you need to
They're
change
spot
them
on.
regular, especially in weather like we've got now. As soon as
Yeah.
it starts heading towards autumn, check them more
Yeah, I
regular.
know, yeah.
Or we get a bad spell of really... Oh, English summer's made up of rain, isn't it? So, yeah.
We like it. That's why we appreciate the sunshine, innit, kids?
We do, and we
Because we have
appreciate it
cold
more than
weather.
most, don't we?
We do, I do.
But yeah, that's what can happen because
Rusty does, don't you, Rusty, a bit?
you've got 4 solenoids actually in the clutch booster pack. So if you've got water going through there, they seize up,
Yeah, it's going to
and
cause
that
problems.
can
isn't it?
cause the problem with the actuator peg against the clutch fork as well. So yeah, several issues. Hopefully we've covered a lot.
Oh, we covered them all.
We've covered most of them. The most important one, of course.
Oh, we've missed out the most important one.
Should any of Chris's subscribers who need any modulators testing, or you know that it's faulty and you want to do a purchase exchange, because that's what we work on. We keep these on the shelf. We have a good selection of these that are programmed with ECU boards already in them, because we can do our own programming as well.
Yeah.
And as long as they're a subscriber to your channel, Chris,
Yeah.
we'll give them all a discount.
Oh, really?
So we'll save them a few.
We're going to get a discount, boys.
We're going to get
as
a
well.
discount, boys and girls. You
Yeah.
know where they are in the world, because obviously
Oh,
it's
yeah.
worldwide.
Oh, yeah, we are, aren't we?
Yeah, I don't want to be sending
We're
one.
international.
I don't-
International kids, you know.
I don't want to be sending one to Kathmandu
Oh, no, yeah.
and
Oh,
standing the delivery charge myself, like. So we work out where they are. We say we'll give you free delivery, we'll give you free gaskets, and yeah, we'll do
Because the
that.
gaskets cost a bit, I know you're right.
They can do, yeah, yeah. Now then, just one other thing. These lids with the ECU boards that are in these lids are very, very specific to your vehicle. So if you've got one of these that's gone wrong, don't think for 1 minute.
You can just
I've
swap
got.
the lid.
You can just swap the lid.
Yeah.
I've got one of them in the workshop. I'll just put that on.
Yeah, you can't
because
do that nowadays, can you?
in this ECU board is embedded in the software is your chassis number.
Oh, right. So it's just imprinted to that truck then, obviously.
It's got all your details of your gearbox program in that ECU board. So basically, if you've got a direct drive gearbox and you've got a spare one of these on the floor in your workshop,
Yeah,
and
it
that's
won't
come
do it.
off an overdrive gearbox,
Yeah, it's not going
You
to
know,
it's not going
give
to
your
up,
dri-
is it?
give that driver a crash helmet, because at some point it's going to try and throw him through the windscreen. Yeah, because the overdrive and the direct drive are configured differently in the box.
Right.
So
So
make
don't mix
sure,
and match, boys. Don't mix and match.
do not mix and match. Do not mix
Keep
and
one
match.
to the truck then, innit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can do all of that as well. We can
What's
do
your
the testing.
turn on? How long do you need this for? Like roughly? Obviously, you can't say how long you're going to need it for because you don't know how busy you're going to be, or you don't know what the fault is. But on a rough thing, say how much downtime is it going to be?
Hours,
110.
Oh, really?
as opposed to days.
Oh, is it? Oh, I was expecting
Absolutely.
days.
Yeah.
Oh,
If you have a problem with one of these and you're out to a job in the morning,
yeah.
if I get it the same day, I will tell you what's wrong with it the same day.
If there is anything wrong with
If
it.
there is anything wrong with it, we're not assuming that there's going to be
No.
everything wrong with it all the time you take it off, because the beauty of the software that I've got, if there's not a problem with the modulator, it'll give me a ballpark figure where the problem is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I get one of your customers who's got one of these to me in the morning, or yourself,
Yeah.
I can put it on my test software and say, Chris, your bottom half's gone,
Yeah.
or you've got an issue with the ECU board, it's lost half its program, which is a common thing if the truck's in, it's lost its power, somebody puts a jumper on it,
Yeah.
a starter, and they haven't put the side lights on, it'll fry the ECU board.
Oh.
Ouch.
Oh dear.
Oh dear. So this is why the main dealers say, oh no, if you're going to buy one of these, you buy the complete thing. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not like that.
No.
I will sell you the section that you need.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. You're not going to say, oh no, that's it. It's all broke. We just need to replace it.
Exactly. Now there
So
are
if it's fixable, you'll fix it.
absolutely, yeah. Now there are companies out there, and I'm not going to take anything away from what they do. Everybody has their own way of dealing with a potential issue with one of these.
We all have our own way of struggling now.
And if it's down to finances, and they say, oh no, I'm not going to buy one of them at 550 quid. I'm just going to send it away and I'm going to have somebody else repair it, cheap as chips. Well, that's fine. I can't tell you how to spend your own money. It's your hard-earned cash. You spend it how you want. All I will say is this. I've had customers umpteen times come to me and say, I've had my modulator away to this company and they charged me 360 quid and they put it on my truck, and within 6 months it dumped me at the side of the road on the motorway.
Oh, and
It's cost me 1,400 quid to get my unit towed off the motorway, recovered, and I've rang the company up and I've said, my mechanic says your modulator's failed, and they say, oh right, okay, well if you want to get it back to us we'll repair it. I say, right, okay, that's good, but we're only going to warranty the part that we've replaced.
Oh, all right.
So you think, hang on a minute, that's going to cost me another 360 quid to then replace the part now that's gone in it.
Yeah.
And you're 600 and odd quid,
So
700 and odd quid plus the VAT in the hole for 2 repairs, plus you recover it off the motorway, wherever you are. Why not just pay the 550 quid with peace of mind knowing, well, that's got an 18-month warranty?
Is that how long you give on these?
Yeah.
What, if I bring one into you then?
Yeah.
What, in a few hours, you'll have it away and have a warranty on it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right,
Really?
I'm going to show you something now. This unit has actually come from a new customer of mine who I've never met, recently this week, and he's got an issue with it. Obviously, I didn't know when I went to it to collect it what the issue was. No. And obviously...
Yeah, what was up with this one then, yeah?
It's an ECU problem.
Is this going back on the lorry then?
This one will, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
now then, you're probably thinking, well, hang on, why is it not remanufactured the bottom? Nothing wrong with the bottom half.
No.
Now,
so what have you done to this one then?
Well,
show us what you've done.
I'll show you what I've done, Chris. Now, if you can cast your eye on that, if I turn that round there, sorry viewers, there's an etch in there.
Yeah, JJ1X. 17, is it?
Yeah?
Yeah.
And what's that number, Chris, that's written on there in black?
322.
322. Right.
Go on, have a look at that, your good eyes. Look, 322. Yeah.
322. Yeah? Right. JJ1X reverts to the company I dealt with.
Oh, right.
The 1X is the month.
Oh.
And the 17 is the year.
Oh, right.
And the 322 is the number that it left on the test screen.
So you can go back
to what the strength of the middle piston is.
Oh, right.
And that tells me 322 is an exceptionally strong reading for this modulator. When they leave the factory, they generally got 320 on them when they're brand new. This modulator is, what we on now, that's 5-year-old. Yeah, well, it will be in November.
Oh, right.
I tested this modulator.
Was this okay then, this one?
The bottom half was better when I tested it yesterday than it was when I built it back in 2017.
Oh, right.
So it had gone down from 322 to 321.
So what you got it for then? What was the fault?
The fault is an issue with the ECU board.
Oh, right.
So I've 2 parts to my testing. I do an independent test on the ECU board, which will allow me to go into the ECU board and check all the information off the board.
Yeah.
And if there is a fault with the board and it's showing me the information regarding the vehicle, such as the chassis number, the gearbox number, the part number and everything else, I can then reprogram an ECU board, put all that information about the vehicle on the ECU board, so that when this goes back on the truck, the main vehicle ECU board can communicate with this, and it recognises it. Because if all the wrong information's in on that and it recognises a different chassis number, it'll go, I'm not moving. Yeah, I don't recognise that number. Because we know what computers are like. So an independent separate test is then done with the bottom half to see if there's anything wrong with that. And the functionality of this bottom half was absolutely spot on. Right. 100%. So we know that it's an ECU board. My customer then has been informed that it's an ECU board. He said, what can you do us, Shane? Well, if you work out a complete unit's 800 quid, a bottom half's 550, so the remainder of that is the cost of the lid. Yeah. Now, there's nothing wrong with his lid, there's nothing wrong with his air egg, because the software's told me there's nothing wrong with that. There's only 4 parts inside this lid. You have your 2 20-pin plugs, an air pressure sensor switch, and your ECU board. That's all there is in this board, in this lid. So basically what I've done is reprogrammed an ECU board. The old one's going to come out, the new one's going to come in. That then will be left separate so we can fit this knowing that we've got it spot on, fit this first, go through the procedure, fit the lid, plug in, it's plug and play. The truck will be in neutral, fire it back up, job's good. Truck's back on the road. So if you get one of these to me in the afternoon and it's like 5 or 6 o'clock, late afternoon, I'll say, right, I'll test it tonight, I'll ring you in the morning, or if you want me to ring you tonight to let you know, I can do that. And then first thing in the morning, if you're exceptionally desperate for it, I'll turn up here at your fantastic place, which is an absolute what a dream to play around in, Chris. That's fantastic.
What a dream for these kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Lovely.
and I can basically drop it off for you. So, Chris, that's 100%. I've measured the pistons off your old one. I've put it on your new one, and you should be drop it in, and that's it. Plug and play, basically. Plug and play. Pipe your earth.
That's what we like to hear, boys, isn't it?
And
just put it in.
Yeah.
That's it. Bolt it together. Make sure you get your pistons the right length.
Now then, if I could just touch on the new Traxxon gearbox, we've heard some horror stories about AS Tronics. There's loads of mechanics, technicians, guys out there in workshops and garages that have said, AS Tronic, oh my God, the bane of my life, and blah, blah, blah. And that's understandable. So hopefully we've took a lot of the aggravation
queries out, lads. At least now we're a bit more, I'm wiser. So
if you think for the past 21 years, ZF have actually perfected this now, and more so the fact that people like myself can now go into it, save the potential customer a lot of money on a replacement one from a main dealership. You've got your truck, imagine this is a scenario for you now, Chris. You've got your tractor unit in a main workshop, the guys come out and said, oh, we've got one of these from Airtronics Transmission Services. He says, all right, there's 15, 13 millibolts on the top, 2 T30s in the middle, take that off, swap the bottom half, pipe it back up, plug and play, truck's out the yard. You might be looking at an hour and a half, right? Traxxon, oh no, big problem. You get an issue with the Traxxon gearbox, and trust me, there have been some, especially with oil seals failing in the box. ECU board issues that I know some MAN agents have had. They lose half the vehicle program or gearbox program. The modulator, in other words, the pneumatic section of this is actually inside the gearbox. You don't actually see this. If you lift the control unit, the ECU board, off a Traxxon, you don't get any of this.
Oh, right, that's internal, isn't it?
This is actually inside the box.
So there you sound even worse.
So if you've got an issue with a Traxxon gearbox in a workshop, it's gearbox out.
Yeah, gearbox out. Yeah.
Driver sat at home because you haven't got a spare truck, so you're paying his wages.
You've got your downtime, ain't you?
They won't be in a rush to get it stripped and back on the road. And if there's an issue with the lid, I found out just recently from an independent, he got a quote to supply a new lid, Traxxon ECU board, the whole 9 yards, to replace it, $7,000.
Yeah.
Just for this bit.
Okay, now.
So, a lot of things to think about. A lot of guys are now saying, can't we go back out and buy a load of AS Tronic stuff? Because this Traxxon, although they're saying it's good for 1.5 million kilometres, well, I've just explained previously in 2017, I had a guy that had that on a DAF, and that had done 1.5 million kilometres. So, where's the trade-off?
Well, at least now with these, we're going to be a bit more clued up, aren't we?
Yeah, hopefully your viewers that are viewing your fantastic vlogs.
What they call vlogs?
Vlogs, yeah, video log, vlog. There you go. We'll get some a little bit of confidence now to be able to tackle
this is what we did it for. This is what we're all out to help each other. That's why I record all this lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've had a lot of comments off young lads and all that, a lot of apprentices saying that. Thank you very much for sharing this with us, because obviously it's informative a bit.
Yeah, of course it is.
And this is why we're doing it, isn't it?
I mean, can you imagine some really enthusiastic apprentice that's been working in a workshop, and he comes across one of these and he can turn out to his boss and say,
and he can say, I'm a bit clued up on that. Well, I'm a bit more clued up than what you think I am on these ones. Be careful, boss, moving that out. Don't move them pistons.
Don't move them pistons.
Don't move them pistons.
I'm not sorting that mess out for you.
They are. Yeah.
The thing
as well, you have, Shane. You've informed as well.
There's like a bit of a data tag on there, Chris.
Yeah.
Because there's 3 different types of these. There's your GS3, your GS3.3, and your GS3.6s. Now, your GS3.6s are basically on your 2015 onwards, pre-Traxxon. And the difference being, if you go on my website and you have a look at the 2 images on my website at airtronicstransmissionservices.com, it will show the 2 differences with the speed sensor.
Oh, right.
Now, can you see how that's kind of just flat, round?
Yeah.
There's not a lot
No,
to
it's
it.
not a dome, not really a dome.
The GS 3.6 wiring loom, for all intensive purposes, looks like a watch battery.
Oh, does it?
And there's 2 images on my website that will show you the difference. Now, a lot of people have been getting caught out. They've gone to refurbishers and they've just been handed a new modulator.
Yeah, but it's the wrong one.
So they put it on and it's fired up. It's off the bottom of the egg. They've put it on and they've driven away and it's been banging into gears.
Yeah.
That's because the software in the lid of the GS 3.6 has been configured differently to pick up the new signal from the GS 3.6 speed sensor. It's now what you call a Hall wave signal. So on the GS3s and 3.3s, the wave signal, as it describes as a wave, this one is more of a castellated signal. It's more accurate, and they've done it basically for cost.
Yeah, well,
because in this GS 3.3 speed sensor there's 3 wires. In the GS 3.6 there's 2.
Yeah.
So over time, if one of them fails, you
kaput.
Computer says no.
So
that's the difference.
He's got all that, boys. Cup of tea time now, I reckon.
Cup of tea.
These kids are getting fidgety, look, ain't ya?
Yeah,
Not our ladies,
cup of
look,
tea.
she's getting fidgety. I hope you've all learned something today, boys, because I have.
This
And
is
if I need anything, I'm going to this man, because he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
I'm freezing, Chris. I've just seen an Eskimo
What are you
with a
took your
sledge
coat
over
off
here.
for? Put your coat on. I'll make you a cup of tea. Rusty, you're all right.
Let's do
I'll-
it.
Do you want to tea?
No, cup of tea.
Yes.
Oh,
Where's my phone again? Yeah, look, Shane comes round. Look, we're fixing his van now. Hey, fixing his van, look. Our Archie's got involved with fixing his van.
Screen wash.
Those lads ran out of screen wash. Yeah. We don't want him having boo-boos on his way home because he's got no screen wash, do we?
Oh, no.
Yeah, look. Shane's just said he has got this new one, look. Is it this one you've reconned then, Shane?
Yeah, totally been remanufactured.
He even shot blasts them, look, and paints them and all.
Yeah, well, it's powder coat, so it's all.
Oh, you powder coated,
yeah,
have you?
textured powder coat. It's better to powder coat them than leave them to raw aluminium because they will oxidise over time unless you cover them. So, and put a really good thick coat of black powder coat on that's textured as well.
Yeah.
And then obviously when we do the.
Is this one you fully reconned then, Shane?
fully
Yeah.
remanufactured unit?
Oh, look at that, look.
Totally
Oh,
fully
yeah.
remanufactured.
Oh, yeah, that's a proper job, isn't it?
Everything's done the way it should be done. Yeah, so
That's
what
good, isn't it?
That's what the customers would get if they got one from me. So
They are, look, boys.
done over 1,000 of these for customers all over the world because of course I export worldwide as well, and all over Europe. So yeah, I get sent them.
Yeah, so they come back.
Yeah.
Well, they come back from him basically like new, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, better than new, really,
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah,
Hey, Archie Allen. Well done, Shane. Well done.
thank you.
Hey, it's good of you to come and share it with us.
No, that's
Isn't it?
my pleasure, honestly.
Shane's got an hour and a half drive now, all right? What is it, hour and 45 minutes,
That's
Shane?
it,
mate?
yeah.
Hour and 45 minutes. See, he's gone out his way on his Sunday to share that with us, which we are much appreciated.
The thing is, you live in such a beautiful part and picturesque part of the country, Chris. It's been a pleasure,
pleasure.
to drive here. Yeah, absolute pleasure. I've loved it. And so's my Uncle Russ. He's enjoyed
now,
it
has he
as
been
well.
all right?
He's over the moon.
Here's our Uncle Russ, look with our road man, look there. Showing us boys the ropes these Odins are, aren't they? Art? Right, come on then, Russ, let's get you in the warm heater.